Namaste and welcome to Tea Talk. I have a very special guest today on this very special day of Navaratri. Uh, Her name is Elizabeth Gray, but I would like to call her Sathi because she's so much as Nepali. She's Nepali in heart, and it gives me so much joy to welcome her on this special episode when I have been talking about mental health awareness series, and today is the 24th day. So on this very special day, um, see someone who has impacted many lives with her positivity, with her knowledge as a traveler, and she has so much to share. So I cannot wait to welcome my dear friend Elizabeth Gray. Namaste, Elizabeth. Welcome.
Oh,
to
namaste. So
Sun.
nice to see you.
Same here. Sanjay हुनुहुन्छ?
Sanjay too, Dhanyavad.
As a Navaratri, so let me wish you a very happy Navaratri.
Thank
When I was
you.
introducing you, I was saying that you are a Nepali by heart.
Yes. Yes, I feel that way deeply many times. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And like I got the opportunity to meet you twice and both
Yes.
in events, right? So, but in both like those book events, you have simply stole my heart with your, I don't know, with your positivity, with your wisdom, with your friendliness. And so yeah, I couldn't find a better word than saying that you are a Nepali in heart and a Sathi, I would say.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. It's such an honor to meet you and to be here with you today. Thank you so much.
Same here. And so, for those who haven't known you yet, uh, please tell us a little bit about yourself.
Sure, sure. So my name is Elizabeth Gray, and I have been to Nepal over 10 times. I'm getting ready to go back for my 11th time just here in a few weeks. And I am somebody who spent time in the United States Marine Corps. I'm a former military veteran. I'm a mother of two wonderful adult children. I'm also a domestic violence survivor. Today is October 1st. October is Domestic Violence Awareness Month. And through that, I became quite the advocate and national speaker. I even helped pass a few laws for the state of South Carolina over a decade ago. And that really helped form me into the person that I have become. And over the past few years, I have put travel into my life, and that has formed me truly into what my future is about to become. And my future is getting ready to blow up. Who knew that from the very first time that I was going to step foot in Nepal back in 2022, that it was going to become my present day and my future? And that's just a little bit of who I am.
Oh my God, you have so many hats. Like starting with mother, a traveler, and you are in
Yes.
school as well, right? You are again in the learning journey too, correct?
Yes. Yes. Yeah. I'm back in college because, I did the military right out of high school back in the 90s. And then I became a mother in the mid 90s, or late 90s, and then went right into the workforce. Had to pay the bills, right? And then I just never pursued my college career. And now here I am, early 50s, and I'm like, going back to school. Because even now, a woman in my 50s, I still have doors that are shut in my face, right? So it's important to me and to lead the example to especially the women in my family, my daughter, my nieces, that you can pursue and do anything that you want to do, no matter what your age is.
That's amazing. And this morning, when I was wishing you a very happy Navaratri, and Navaratri is the season when you recognize the Sakti, the strength within, right? The possibilities within, and then
Yes,
like and all
yes,
different forms, like nine different forms of goddess, they like Durga we worship, and you as a mother, you as a college student, you as an advocate, you as a speaker, you as a
Yeah.
writer, you as a traveler.
Right.
So all those
Yeah.
roles, and that is pretty amazing and inspiring as well. And in last two meetings, I was very much inspired by you and what you have been doing. And as you just mentioned that October is the Mental Health Awareness Month as well, and
Sure.
it's my
Yes.
honor to have you today. And so,
Yes.
yeah, tell us a little bit about like you travel a lot. You have met lots of people here,
Yes.
everywhere.
Yes.
Right? So, how do you see like what is the need, or are people healthy, mentally healthy as they seem? Or
No, no. So 2019, I decided to start traveling the world and going on, I wanted to do one solo trip per year. And, you know, our life is not promised tomorrow. We have to live our life for today. And I find even for ourselves, we we are stuck so many times in the past, right? And we're stuck with our past pain, which messes with our head. And then we are stuck with so much worry about our future that sometimes we forget about right now. And when we forget about the right now, that affects our happiness and our joy. So our past is stealing joy from us. Our future, worrying about the future, is stealing our happiness. So I have found for myself, and it is work. Oh my goodness. Boy, it is work. It is work to try to remember every day to be mindful, to be right here in this moment. But once you do that work and you remind yourself, like, hey, we're only here for right now, for right today, then the happiness comes. Happiness comes. Like on my social media, I'm big on TikTok with the Nepali community. I have my tagline, chasing happiness,
oh,
because that's what I'm doing. And I'm worthy of happiness. And us as women, we're worthy of happiness. So in 2019, when I started doing my solo traveling, and I pick one spot per year, I go somewhere new. Like, for example, this year, I went to Ireland for my first time.
wow.
Okay. And now Nepal is no longer solo traveling, because when I go to Nepal, I've got many, 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 many families that are waiting for me. So I'm never alone when I go to Nepal. And but my first solo trip was to Cambodia. And so what I have found, learning about other cultures, meeting other women, and I love to talk to other women. Of course, sometimes I have to get translators because they don't speak the language, but the ones that do speak English, they face the same hardships that we do. In a lot of different cultures, the women look twice my age just from the stress. Especially the women that work out in the fields, or my gosh, I mean they work full time, and in many countries they work much more than 40 hours a week. Here in America, there's labor laws to where we're not supposed to work 40 hours a week. They're working really long days, then taking care of their families, then taking care of the needs of their husbands. So they're stressed out. That leaves very little time for themselves, and who takes care of them, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So it's a worldwide issue with women. And then just one day, the next thing you know, we break. We fall apart. We start having health issues. The mental it manifests into physical issues. And it's a no wonder that heart disease is the number one killer in women worldwide. And that's something we all share in common. It's not a country thing, it's a worldwide issue.
It is. Yeah.
So, yeah.
On Tuesdays, I teach at Texas Women's University, and this semester I have been teaching the diversity and global perspective. So, seeing the women all over the world, as you just said, they have been the caretakers, right? They have been
Yeah.
the, in many countries, even breadwinners. They have been doing everything but taking care of themselves, and
Right.
it's not just one country thing or not one place thing.
No.
But yeah,
Right.
yeah, and
Right.
so. It is so fascinating that I'm so envious of you that you are planning one solo trip a year. And
Yes.
when did you uh, kind of make that decision, or how did it inspire
Yeah,
you to make that solo travel? Like
right, right. Well,
you to take
y-
care of yourself.
yeah, I always, even as a small child, I was always fascinated about world travel, but I thought it was always out of my reach. I grew up in a very, very poor family, and I always thought that I would never have that luxury of travel, right? And then, during my second marriage, that was the incredibly abusive marriage that led me into being a domestic violence advocate and advocating for women and men who were in abusive relationships. Thank God that marriage lasted only a few years. Um, but it was also the turning point of the changes that I made within my life and for other people's lives. And during that marriage, I've never been asked this question before. So I literally, I don't know if the word fantasize is the word, but I fantasized. I went to like all these little happy places in my mind. I always fantasized about traveling
You're
during that.
manifesting then in
Yeah,
a way.
I was. So during my darkest hours of being abused, I would fantasize about traveling the world. And so I want to say back in 2017, 2018, I decided, you know what? At that point I was in my late 40s. I'm like, I'm going to start doing it. And and people always say, how do you do this? How do you afford it? Because traveling can be expensive, but you know what? If you make a goal, one trip per year, right? One trip per year, you plan it out. And sometimes the journey of planning it can be so much fun.
True.
And then you make a budget. And then in that budget, you figure a way to come up with the money to do it. And then it's more affordable than you think. And then once you start doing your solo traveling, you meet other solo travelers and you find out how they can afford to do it. And it's just traveling sometimes overseas is sometimes more affordable than just traveling to another state,
Wow.
like here in the United States. So yeah,
You made
I
me
just make it happen.
Wow, you made me think of a word in our Nepalese because you have traveled so many times and whatnot. But in ours, there's a saying that um, if you really wish for something, even God will like kind of grant it, or seek and you shall find, right? It's the same.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's amazing that when we make the choices in our life, as you said, that even when you're in that kind of dark period of your life, I mean, when it was not going as you wish, but instead of like kind of making yourself feeling so down and there's no hope, you're thinking about those places, you're fantasizing about those places, and that is amazing because when
Yeah.
we talk about mental health, I mean, there's a very fine line between I'm down and I can do it, and the time when we need to pull ourselves up, when there's no one who will see that what we are going through, but it's
Right.
us, we have to pull us. And you seeing those places, thinking of those places, that's pretty amazing.
Right. And now looking back on it, I guess you could say those were my one of my coping mechanisms to
Mhm.
get through those dark times. I meet a lot of people uh, along my travels and even here in my own hometown. They ask me, you are such a happy person. How are you so happy? I'm like, because I've seen a lot of darkness. And you never, when you meet people, you never know what they've been through.
Right.
I've seen so much childhood trauma in my own life and, even in my adult life. And I've just learned to be so grateful and thankful. Like, thank God I'm not in that situation anymore. Thank God somehow I found the strength and I had people put in my past to give me the right resources to be able to get out of those situations. And that somehow I had this quiet little voice and somehow I was given this voice to help others. And, you know, sorry, I can go on forever about
You,
about my journey of
and
being
just
happy and
yeah,
and
you
and
mentioned
good mental health. Yeah, and here's the other thing. I still have bad days. And I allow myself to have those bad days. Some people, just talking, especially to other women, they feel so guilty for having those bad days. No, let yourself have those feelings. It's normal feeling. Just like it's normal to be angry, it's normal to be sad. I still have bad days. I still cry. Mom, just last week, it was the anniversary of my mother's death. It was 2 years ago that my mother died. And you know what? The silly thing I did, I went and saw a movie that made me cry even harder, but I think I needed that. Of course, some of my friends were like, why in the world did you go and see that movie? Why did you do that to yourself? Because in the movie, there was a scene where this woman went and visited her 12-year-old self, and her 12-year-old self was visiting her mother, and the
Oh,
mother was holding her, and they were watching a movie together. Of course, I was like, woo! I was just bawling, and but I had a really bad day, and I'm still going through a lot of my mother's things. Um, they say there's no time on grieving. So, but having that bad day, I was able to come home and go through some more of her clothes, get rid of more of her just her crap, because that's really what it is. And why I was holding on to it, I don't know, but it's okay to still have bad days. You don't always have to be happy all the time, but I am still always chasing happiness because I'm worthy of happiness. You're worthy of happiness, but it takes work. And together we have to figure out how to do that because there's no easy answer.
it is not. There is not. And
Yeah.
you have spoken a volume in my question, and I'm glad I asked it. Because when you mentioned about like it's okay to be sad, it's okay to cry, right? Because many
Yeah.
times we try to impose, we try to give others the impression that, oh, I'm happy, I'm fine. But relating to my first question, that do people look fine mentally as they saw themselves?
Right.
But yeah, many times they are not acknowledging how they are feeling, right? They are not,
Right.
yeah, and that is kind of like, I don't know, create a layer by layer, I don't know. And but yeah,
Right.
it's so beautifully that, because when I met you twice, both time I have seen you as a very positive person, very like happy and whatnot. But everyone has good and bad days. But
Yeah.
appreciating, I mean, life gives us an opportunity to experience the, I don't know, the sad days or bad days,
Yes.
kind of.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's so human, and you put it in a very wonderful way. So thank
Thank you.
you for that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and times when you mentioned that, uh, when you have gone through so much, we all do. We all have our different stories of life, right?
Right.
And when we try to pick what we are, what we have versus what we didn't, and
Hmm.
that gives us like so much opportunity to count our blessings, right? Like,
Right.
and that part kind of we are missing. I feel like personally, I mean, I'm feeling that way. But
Yeah.
and tell us a little bit about your advocacy journey, and like, because you have impacted many lives, and that was, I was so proud of. Oh my God, I wish I could be like her, because you have that. You have inspired so many people. You have impacted many lives.
Thank you. And I'm so sorry to have you repeat you said to tell you a little about my witch journey.
No, you're no, when you started advocating for those, yeah, domestic.
Oh, yes, of course. Yes. So, yeah, I was in a horrendous marriage. This was over 10 years ago. Luckily, or unluckily, I was only married to him for 3 years. And very, very abusive. And as you've heard me tell the brief story before, there was over 30 physical incidences, 2 trips to the emergency room. He was only arrested one time for the things he did to me, and he only spent one night in jail. And I knew that I had to get out. This was not the father of my grown children, by the way. But my kids did witness some of the things that happened to me, especially the verbal and the emotional things. And they saw firsthand how it affected me. I look back at photos and I'm telling you right now, I looked 20 years older 10 years ago than I do today. Everyone tells me, "How do you look so young?" I was like, "Well, good skincare, lots of water, and I keep toxic people out of my life." I'm telling you, that's what it boils down to. Happiness, you know? Um, and so when one of the things he would tell me, I always had a dream, I told you about I always fantasized about traveling. Well, I also had a dream. I wanted to run a marathon.
Right. Yeah.
Okay. So I was in the military and part of our regime was running. But I always had a dream of running a marathon, 26.2 miles. And he would always laugh at me. And he would tell me, you would never be able to run a marathon. You'd probably stop and walk, and you don't have it in you. You don't have time to train because you have to work and pay the bills. And I mean, it was always very negative. No, 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 no. Just, like I was not good enough to be able to run a marathon. So when I finally got the help I needed, again, had people placed in my path
Yeah.
to, the right resources to get the help I needed. It got the help I needed, and I was like, okay, I'm going to start training for a marathon. And in March of 2012, in Wilmington, North Carolina, I was living in South Carolina at the time, but I traveled a little bit to go to Wilmington, North Carolina. I ran my first marathon.
Indeed.
It
Wow.
took me 6 hours, but I did it. And there's a photo of me. I'm sitting on a curb, and one of my friends came to see me. She took a picture of me, and I'm sitting on this curb, and I've got the medal around my neck, and I'm just bawling. But I'm bawling, I'm crying so hard because I realized at that moment, like all these negative voices my whole life, not just from the abusive ex-husband, but from my whole life. I listened. I listened to them and I believed all that negativity and I didn't need to. And in that moment, by me crossing that finish line of that 26.2 miles, I knew at that moment that God had a plan for me. And at that moment, I'm like, I'm going to keep running. People are going to hear my footsteps. I'm going to make a difference. And from that moment on, I decided to run a marathon in all 50 states. I became active with the state of South Carolina, speaking out about criminal domestic violence. I started sharing my story anywhere that people would listen. And within just a couple years, I was nominated Woman of the Year from a local organization. I was then appointed to former Governor Nikki Haley's Criminal Domestic Violence Task Force that I was on for 15 months for the state of South Carolina. And that's where we helped pass a couple different laws for the state. And uh, I started speaking all over the United States. My biggest speaking, and I hate to call it a gig, but that's what it was. Because then I became a paid speaker for a long time. Was at the University of California in Irvine. I was speaking to sororities. I was speaking even to men's groups. I was speaking to women's correction facilities, to churches. Uh, you know, Unhealthy relationships, domestic violence. It doesn't know religion. It doesn't see uh, a socioeconomic status. It affects everybody. Everyone. It doesn't matter the color of your skin. It doesn't matter how much money you make. Unhealthy relationships and abuse happens in every family. And you always have people, and I have, that'll say to me, "Oh, that doesn't happen in our school. Oh, that doesn't happen in my family." Yeah, I'm like, "Yeah, okay, okay, yeah, sure, okay, whatever you say." And it's just not domestic violence either. It's also, sexual assault, molestation. Every family has its dark, dark secrets, and the secrets are what the issue is because the secrets is what holds the stronghold on people. The secrets is what causes so many mental illnesses. in our society today. And if just people can learn how to find the safe spaces to share those secrets, to share the horrendous traumatic things that happen to them in those safe spaces, I think our whole world would be a better place.
Definitely, definitely. I'm just
So,
pausing. I'm just pausing because lately I have started a mental health awareness journey, and I have taken a commitment of like 99 days at least to start a simple conversation right from home. And
yeah,
today is the 24th day of this. And
it's
it's
great.
and it's an honor to have you today because many times, especially when we talk about our Nepalese community, our
Yeah,
families, it's so hard. Like in many communities, I mean, they do not open
right,
at all when it comes
right,
to like kind of sad things or traumatic things.
right,
They do not open up, and that kind of layers down and becomes like
right,
it affects your mental health.
right,
And
right,
so thinking
right.
about that, at least we should start a conversation. That was my initiative.
Right, right. I've even had conversations with men in the Nepalese community, not just down there in Texas, but also in Nepal. There is such a high suicide rate now with the Nepalese community with men.
Yeah,
And I can't remember what the rate is. I know it changes year to year, but it's getting higher and higher.
it is.
And you and I have talked recently about, taboo subjects, and it's just not taboo subjects, but, because of the culture, because of even the religion, there's just things that it's inappropriate to even talk about. But that's the problem. There's things that should not be inappropriate to talk about, that should be okay to talk about. And, a lot of times they'll say, go to the temple, talk to, one of your Hindu priests, but sometimes they don't have the qualifications that are needed or to tell you what resources to go to. And also too in Nepal, a lot of times I've noticed that there's not the appropriate resources available.
Um,
And of course, that's for many different reasons, whether it's, for funding or just the lack of support that's there in the country. Um, but can you shed any light on that, on what I was just talking about with the suicide rates in the Nepalese community?
like globally also men have high risk, but in Nepalese, I mean, even talking about US where we are now, in the past couple months also in like I myself personally have heard the news of over 7 suicides, and it's only past couple months. So it's I do not know. I mean, it's so sad at one point, but other, as you said, that uh, men they do not. I don't know. Maybe they do not. They are not brought up that way to share, and they can cry. They
Right,
can like talk to others, not having that outlet probably. And when we talk about the taboo topics as well, when we discussed
right,
in our
yeah,
last meeting,
right,
that many times even a simple conversation, people do not talk to each other, do not share even in family, and then when they keep it inside them, it is kind of it takes that. I don't know,
yeah,
yeah, it's really very sad. So having that conversation, having that courage to at least share to someone whom you trust, right? And if not,
right,
finding the resources. And you, as you mentioned, that there may be not many like adequate resources, but at least
right.
sharing to someone, starting from there and seeking the help, that would help, I think.
Right, right, right. And a lot of times the men are not comfortable talking with women.
Yeah.
Um, I've even had, I know you and I, you've heard me in my last our last speaking event that we did together. I've had many men come to me for advice,
Oh,
whether it's advice on life, money, even sex, relationships. And at first, I was taken aback, but then I realized that culturally, oh wait, they're seriously coming to me because there's a need for it. And and there's only so much that I'm even and I don't like using the word qualified, but yes, I have life experience and I have been trained, through my domestic violence and my sexual assault training, like on the appropriate things to say, not to say, that kind of thing. But it, I'm not 100% qualified to
Everybody
give.
different thing too, right? So yeah.
Yeah, right, right. But I'm also very honored that some of these guys are coming to me for advice, and many of them who are my great friends, I'm more than happy, to help them, especially if it's something that really deeply hurts their heart, you know, and if it helps save their life, then I'm more than happy to be there for them. So,
And thank you for doing what you have been doing. Thank you for sharing and like
ah,
people as well,
yeah, thank you.
because even like saving one life or talking to one person, that makes a big difference, right?
Right,
Yeah.
right.
So,
Yeah.
Elizabeth, tell us a little bit about your self-care because you have impacted many lives, and you mentioned about your running a marathon, right? And like you have
Yeah.
that glow, you have that positivity in you. So, tell us your secret of that glow, or
Sure, sure. So I don't run as much anymore. I did my last marathon just a few years ago, and I now focus on walking. Walking is something that any of us can do,
yeah.
and weight training is something that I'm more focused on now. It burns more calories than cardio, although there's a lot of health fitness people that will argue with me on that. But honestly, just healthy eating. You know, have you ever heard that saying, you are what you eat? And unfortunately, here in America, there's so much processed food, genetically modified food. So over the past 2 to 3 years, I have genuinely taken the time to research every single thing that I eat. And at first, it's expensive to do that because, sometimes organic and health foods that can be so expensive. But then you learn, like, wait a second, it doesn't have to be that expensive to eat foods. Um, so healthy eating, and that has a lot to do with mental health too. Because if you're eating all this processed food or even the genetically modified food, I think that affects your mental health. Um, Simple things as even taking a nice bubble bath, to listening to wonderful music, to meditating. 2 years ago, I got really deep into meditation, and I try my best to do at least a minimum of 20 minutes a day of meditating. Um, I was honored and privileged to do a Vipassana meditation in Lukla, Nepal, just last year, March. This was just a few months after my mother had passed, and I had a lot of anger issues. So one of my friends said, Elizabeth, you need Vipassana. And of course, I'm like, as a Westerner, I'm like, what's Vipassana? And so I looked into it. Now you see how chatty I am, right? So with Vipassana, it's 10 days,
It
no
is.
talking,
And I was, yeah.
no reading, no
Nice.
writing, no phones, no eye contact. You only eat twice a day, and it's what they serve you. You wake up, I think you wake up at like 4:30 or 5:30, and you go to bed by 9:30, and you do nothing but meditate each day. And then at the end of each night before you go to bed, there's a video you watch. It's what do you call it? A discourse. It's a, what do you call it? Like, they explain to you what you probably experienced. They explain to you what is getting ready to happen. Um, the only time you're allowed to talk is it was like between 12 and 12:30 each day, to your the meditation teacher. And that's only if you had an issue, a medical issue, or if there's an issue with the meditation itself. And day three, I had such a profound childhood memory. I was freaking out. I went to my meditation teacher. Actually, I walked out in the middle of meditation. I left because I'm outside crying so hard. And then I came back in. I asked to speak to the meditation teacher. I went to him. I told him what I remembered. And this wonderful Sherpa guy, because I'm in Lukla,
Yeah.
up in the Kruger region. And this wonderful Sherpa guy, he says to me, "Oh, oh, Lisa, this is wonderful. This is exactly what's supposed to happen. You're pulling out the roots of the weeds." He's like, "Give it one more day. Give it one more day." But you know what? He was right. It was such, like I said, a profound memory. It was that root
Yeah.
of a weed that was weighing heavily on my whole body, every single cell of the trauma that I experienced as a child. And it was affecting my whole life. And it's amazing when we sit silent enough and how we can look within, how we can remember those things to then start healing that trauma, right? And I'm sitting here thinking, like, why isn't more trauma centers in the United States doing this Vipassana training? And so, anyways, with that story, I'm sorry, I'm getting off subject just a little bit.
No,
But
no, no. This is
with
very
that being said, meditation is now my medicine. So you take the meditation, you take the healthy eating. I hardly don't even drink alcohol anymore. When I was with my daughter this last weekend, and she doesn't drink anymore, um, there was this restaurant I went to, and they had a peanut butter chocolate beer.
okay.
I wanted it.
Okay.
I wanted that beer so bad, and I got it. And it went right to my head, and and I felt terrible the next day. But that's also part of balance. It's okay to have some balance in your life, right? I allowed myself that little joy of having that, but that's part of happiness. You keep the bad stuff out of your body, right? Eat healthy, meditate, put movement into your body. That all has to do with your mental health. That all has to do with happiness.
Definitely. And it shows
Yeah.
you, it reflects on you. So,
Thank you. Thank you. Oh. And I don't mean to interrupt. And then we were talking earlier. Wednesdays is my day to not overextend myself. Wednesdays is my day. I don't make appointments. I don't do my homework. I try to do things that feeds my soul. Even this today is feeding my soul because I get to see your beautiful face and talk about mental health. Like this is good for me. This is good for my soul, right? So,
and it's amazing that you picked the middle of the day, like middle of the week, right? Because in
yes,
Wednesday, I mean, because many people they look towards the weekend, and
right.
as the research says that people get more kind of sad, more upset during the weekend because they
Hmm.
tend to look for other people's happiness, their joy, their activity on Facebook, on social media. They said, "Oh, I didn't do anything."
Right.
Versus, I mean, giving time to themselves, as you said, that it's a kind of like chilling day out for you, right? Feeding your soul kind of day for.
Right. Right.
So yeah, and picking that day is really very important. And today, on this conversation, when we are talking about mental health, you have given us so many tips. The food, as you said, that
Thank
meditation
you.
is my medicine, right? So
Thank you.
thank you for doing that.
Yeah, I hope I've helped someone.
You are helping, and starting from me myself, right? I'm the
Oh,
first.
good.
But as and I cannot believe that we are almost at the end of the conversation. I'm
I
like, yeah,
know.
I'm so joyful. So, what would be your message to the present generation as well as uh, parents' generation? I would say because sometimes uh, parents are like kind of very much concerned about the health of their kids. They tend to
Yes.
forget like taking care of themselves, and
Right.
kids they have their own life. They hardly care anyone kind of thing.
Right.
They are on their own, but how much it is needed to have that conversation in home among family members to take care of ourselves.
It's it's so important. So this is going to be a two-part answer.
Yes, please.
First one's going to be funny because that's my personality. So whether you are an English speaker or a Nepalese speaker, I'm going to use the term chill garne.
Love that. I love that. Okay.
Because we all need to learn how to just chill out. You know, I tried to learn the phrase, and I even put it on my TikTok the other day, and people corrected the way I said it. But the phrase here in America, we say, "Don't make a mountain out of a molehill," and I think the Nepalese phrase is, "Don't make a mountain out of a seed."
Feel like
Right.
body, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I tried to say it Nepalese and Nepali, and I couldn't say it. But anyway, so that's the first part is no matter past generations or current generation, like younger generation, older, I was just need to learn to breathe. We have to always remember to come back to our breath, right? So no matter what bad is happening in our lives, we have to remember to just take a deep breath, come back to our breath. And as long as we remember to come back to our breath always, we're going to be fine. Everything's going to be okay. Chill, Garnet. Everything's going to be fine, right? And then as far as and then this the second part of the answer is for parents having a conversation with their children. Um, they need to give not just themselves permission to talk with their spouses or their whoever their partner is at the time. They need to be able to tell their children young as early as they can, if you have a problem, to come to me, come to them. Even if they're afraid to come to them, no matter what they have going on, they need the child, no matter what age that child is, whether they're 5, 18, 25, they need to be able to feel safe enough to come to their parent, an auntie, um, somebody without fear of judgment. So that conversation needs to happen to say, come to me, I'm here for you without judgment. Um, I think just having that simple conversation on a regular basis
Regular basis, yes.
would help, that person feel safe, you know?
Definitely the safe space
Yeah.
and the
The safe space. Right.
and
Right.
communicating not only once but in a daily basis if it helps, right? And that,
Yes.
yeah, that is so very
Yeah.
important. And we tend to forget that many times. And that's,
Yeah.
yeah. So,
Yeah.
so what would be one message or one last thing, or if I forgot to ask anything that you'd like to share to our viewers?
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Just to live every day as if it's your last, you know? If you can have that mentality, if you woke up every day and you thought today might be the last day that I'm going to live this beautiful life, it would change your outlook on life every single day. Even if you go to the grocery store, make eye contact with the person who's checking out your groceries. Ask that person how they are. If you see a mother with a screaming child, say hey to her, just say, hey, I know what you're going through. If you see someone who's in need and they need a little bit of money, if you have it, give it to them, even if they can't ever give it back to you. If you have a dream or a goal, you find out what you need to do to go after it. But again, if you have that mentality of today might be the last day to see the sunshine or the sunrise or the sunset, it really makes a difference on just how your attitude is with yourself and with others.
That's beautiful, simply profound. Thank you for sharing that.
Oh,
Um,
Swagatum, you're so welcome.
So before we leave, tell us one fun thing or fun word or anything about Nepal that is kind of like that adds smile to your face every day.
Oh my goodness, it's inappropriate though. I
Okay.
don't,
No.
well, and that's the other thing, learning Nepali. I always tell everyone, when I learned Nepali, Ali Ali Nepali Bonauche, I've taken several formal classes and the 3.5 years I've been going and returning there. And I take online classes too, not just in-person classes, and I study every day. Um, and learning the slang. Oh my gosh. And every week, I swear there's a new slang word I learn. But I learn more about the culture. But what I really learn is how offensive I can be. And I don't mean to be. But for some reason, when I talk about Nepali bokas, boka, the like players or playboys, these crazy men who can't be faithful to their girlfriends or their wives. Like, for some reason, it, it makes me just giggle. And for the most part, I do make people laugh when I say the word boca, but there's also people that I offend. So if anyone is listening to this and hear me says that word, I'm so sorry. I don't mean to offend anybody. Molai molai, ali ali.
That's so beautiful. Oh my God. So, um, last question. Are you
Yes.
writing anything? Do you
I'm
write?
sorry.
Are you writing anything?
No, but I should. And that is one of my intentions. Um, I have been approached by many of my other writer friends that I should write a book, one, about my whole story with the domestic violence and becoming an advocate and running a marathon in all 50 states. I've also been told I need to write a series of books of all of my trips to Nepal because the stories that I have about all of my trips to Nepal keep people on their toes. Um, I am not at the point yet where I want to start that writing journey because I know once I start that, there's no stopping me. So, and I'm so focused on my college career right now and finishing my degree within the next 2 years. So thank you for asking me that. And you please stay on top of me and hold me accountable within 2 years. If I haven't started writing any of my manuscripts, please hold me accountable.
And this question was coming from a professor, so I'll remember to kind of give you a little nudge because your journey, what you have shared, it will impact many lives. And on this
Thank
special
you.
episode, when we are talking about mental health awareness, chasing happiness, yeah.
Thank you.
So
Thank you.
once you're done with your college, please keep that in mind.
I will. I will. And I may start some things earlier though with my TikTok. And not to self-promote myself, but my TikTok, it's Elizabeth Travel Guru. I speak about a lot of things on there. Um that I have stories on top of stories on top of stories. And I just how can I say this? I probably should go ahead and at least start the writing process, even with taking notes or making my outline, so that when I am ready to really get into the writing process, I'm there. I've also considered hiring professionals, but I'm also not financially at the point where I can do that because all of my money goes to plane tickets to Nepal.
But, uh, but yeah, I wish everyone would have that crazy first step to make that first solo trip and that kind of
Yeah.
make the chain, right? Every year
Right.
in traveling. So
Right. Right.
because when I look back, your first trip and now many trips, it is possible and you have
Right.
so much hope to others, right?
Yes.
Possibility
Yes.
to others and goal setting to others. So thank you for what you do.
Thank
Thank
you.
you
Thank
for
you.
who you are. And yeah.
Thank you so much. And thank you for asking about if I have an interest in writing. It's also on my heart. I've always talked about taking like a writing retreat workshop somewhere over the next couple years. So it's something that's definitely on my heart. So it's funny that you are kind of also throwing that little seed at me, a little life wink at me to be like, come on, Elizabeth, I think you should do this. So I needed that from you, so thank you.
Thank you so much. Yeah, thank you for your time, and I would hope to uh, like talk to you again once you finish your next solo trip, and then yeah, we'll be in touch.
Absolutely.
on behalf
Absolutely.
of all our listeners and viewers, especially throwing light on the mental health awareness thing. So thank you so very much for this.
Yes. Swagatam and Dhanyabad.
Dhanyavad.
Teri Batola. See you soon.
Very better. See you soon.
Okay. See